It's 2:17 in the morning. You're lying in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Your alarm goes off in 4 hours. You know you should be sleeping, but your brain? Your brain has other plans. It's replaying that conversation you had 6 days ago, the one where you said you too when the barista told you to enjoy your coffee. You're dissecting every word, every pause, every facial expression. Did your boss sound annoyed in that email? Should you have taken that job offer last year? What if you're wasting your life? What if everyone secretly thinks you're failing? Your heart's racing. Your chest feels tight. And the worst part? You know this is ridiculous. You know you're overthinking. But knowing doesn't stop it. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not broken. This is the reality that Nick Trenton tackles head-on in his book, Stop Overthinking, 23 Techniques to Relieve Stress, Stop Negative Spirals, Declutter Your Mind, and Focus on the Present. And here's the thing. This isn't just another self-help book telling you to think positive or just relax. This is a neuroscience-backed, psychology-proven roadmap out of the mental prison we build for ourselves. So if you're tired of being held hostage by your own thoughts, if you're ready to make decisions without second-guessing yourself into paralysis, stay with me. Because in the next 45 minutes, we're going to break down the exact strategies that'll help you take your brain back. Let's dive in. What this book teaches. So, what exactly is Stop Overthinking about? Here's the core message. Overthinking isn't a personality flaw, it's a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. Nick Trenton reveals that overthinking happens when your brain gets stuck in loops of rumination and analysis paralysis, preventing you from taking action and living in the present. The book provides 23 science-based techniques to interrupt these mental patterns, quiet the noise, and shift from chronic worrying to confident decision-making. You'll learn to recognize overthinking triggers, stop catastrophizing, and build mental boundaries that protect your peace. Bottom line, your thoughts don't control you. You control them. Habit 1. Recognize the awareness trap. Meet Sarah. She's a 32-year-old marketing manager in Denver, Colorado. Smart, capable, respected at work. But there's a problem. Every Sunday night, like clockwork, she spirals. She'll be watching Netflix, trying to unwind, when suddenly it hits. Did I send that report to the right person? Wait, did I even finish it? Oh God, what if there's a typo? Everyone's going to think I'm incompetent. Maybe I should check. No, I checked 3 times, but what if... Before she knows it, she's grabbed her laptop. She's rereading the report for the 4th time. She's not finding mistakes, she's creating anxiety. And the worst part? She's fully aware she's overthinking. She knows she's being irrational. But that awareness doesn't stop her. In fact, it makes it worse. Now she's overthinking her overthinking. Sound familiar? This is what Nick Trenton calls the awareness trap. Here's the paradox. Becoming aware that you're overthinking can actually fuel more overthinking. You notice you're spiraling, then you start analyzing why you're spiraling, then you judge yourself for spiraling, and boom, you're 3 levels deep into meta-overthinking. Trenton explains that our brains are wired for threat detection. Back when we were dodging saber-toothed tigers, overthinking kept us alive. But in the modern world, where most threats are psychological rather than physical, this same mechanism becomes a bug instead of a feature. The key insight: awareness alone isn't enough. You need awareness plus action. You need to recognize the spiral and have a concrete plan to interrupt it. The application. Here's what you can do right now. First, name it to tame it. When you catch yourself overthinking, literally say out loud or write down, "I'm overthinking right now." Don't judge it, don't analyze it, just label it. Research shows that the simple act of naming an emotional state reduces its intensity by activating the logical part of your brain. Second, create a pattern interrupt. This means having a pre-planned response for when you catch yourself spiraling. Sarah's pattern interrupt? She does 20 jumping jacks. Sounds silly, but it works. The physical movement shifts her nervous system from fight or flight to something more neutral. Other options are splash cold water on your face, step outside for 60 seconds, or text a friend something completely random. The goal isn't to stop thinking, it's to stop the loop. The takeaway. Remember this: awareness without action is just more thinking. You can't think your way out of overthinking. You have to interrupt the pattern with something physical, something real, something now. Have you ever caught yourself overthinking about overthinking? Like you're aware you're spiraling, but you can't stop? Drop a comment below and let me know what usually triggers it for you. Let's normalize this struggle. Habit 2. Use the 90-second rule. Let's talk about Marcus. He's a freelance graphic designer in Austin, Texas. Talented guy, but he has this problem. Every time a client gives him feedback, he melts down. Not externally. Externally, he's professional. He says, "Great notes, I'll revise." But internally, it's World War III. They hate it. They think I'm a fraud. I'm going to lose this contract. Word's going to spread. My career is over. I should have gone to law school like my dad said. I'm 37 and I'm failing. Everyone was right about me. This whole spiral happens in about 90 seconds. And then, if he lets it, it keeps going for 90 minutes, or 90 hours, or 90 days. Here's the game-changing fact that Nick Trenton shares. The physiological response to an emotion, the actual chemical flood in your body, lasts exactly 90 seconds. That's it, 90 seconds. When something triggers you, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, releases a cascade of stress hormones. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your stomach drops. But if you don't feed the reaction with more thoughts, that chemical response naturally cycles through your system in 90 seconds. The problem, we don't let it pass. We grab onto the emotion and spin stories around it. We ruminate. We catastrophize. We turn a 90-second feeling into a 90-hour ordeal. Neuroscientist Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor discovered this during her own stroke recovery. She realized that emotions are temporary biological processes unless we choose to sustain them with our thinking. The application. Here's your mission. The next time you feel that surge of anxiety, anger, or panic, set a timer on your phone for 90 seconds. During those 90 seconds, just feel it. Don't fight it. Don't analyze it. Don't try to fix it. Just observe it like you're a scientist collecting data. And here's the crucial part. Don't attach a story to it. The moment you think, "This means I'm a failure," or "This is going to ruin everything," you're feeding the beast. Just let the wave crash and recede. Marcus started doing this. When client feedback triggered him, he'd close his laptop, set his phone timer, and just breathe through the physical sensations. After 90 seconds, the intensity dropped by at least 50%. The emotion didn't own him anymore. The takeaway. Feelings are visitors, not residents. They come, they peak, they pass, if you let them.
What emotion do you struggle with most? Anxiety? Anger? Shame? Comment below. And if you try the 90-second rule this week, come back and tell me how it went. I'm genuinely curious. Habit 3. Choose action over analysis. Jennifer is a 28-year-old teacher in Columbus, Ohio. She's been thinking about starting a side business, an online tutoring platform, for 3 years. 3 years. She's researched everything. She's read 17 books on entrepreneurship. She's watched hundreds of hours of YouTube videos. She's created the perfect business plan. She's designed logos she's never used. She's written website copy that's never gone live. But she hasn't launched. Because what if the timing isn't right? What if she fails? What if people judge her? What if she's not ready? Meanwhile, 3 of her colleagues have started their own side hustles in the past year. Less experienced than her, less prepared than her, but actually doing it. This is analysis paralysis, and it's one of overthinking's cruelest tricks. We convince ourselves that more research equals better decisions. But here's what Nick Trenton makes crystal clear. Past a certain point, more information doesn't lead to better outcomes. It just leads to more confusion and delay. There's a concept in psychology called satisficing, a combination of satisfy and suffice. It means making a decision that's good enough, rather than waiting for the perfect option. Research by psychologist Barry Schwartz shows that satisficers are actually happier than maximizers, people who need the absolute best choice, because they waste less time and energy on decision-making. Overthinkers are chronic maximizers. We believe that if we just think a little longer, analyze a little deeper, we'll find the perfect answer. But perfection is a mirage. And while you're chasing it, life is passing you by. The application. Here's your new rule, the 5-minute decision protocol. For any decision that won't permanently harm you, give yourself 5 minutes to think about it. Set a timer. When the timer goes off, you decide. No extensions, no just one more Google search. Is this restaurant good enough? 5 minutes. Should you take that weekend trip? 5 minutes. Which project should you tackle first today? 5 minutes. This doesn't apply to major life decisions. Don't pick a spouse in 5 minutes. But for 90% of daily decisions, 5 minutes is more than enough. And here's the advanced move. Embrace imperfect action. Jennifer finally launched her tutoring platform with a basic website, no logo, and one service offering. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And you know what happened? She got her first client within a week. That client gave her feedback that she never would have thought of through research. She iterated, she improved, she learned by doing. Within 6 months, her imperfect side hustle was making her an extra $1,500 a month. The takeaway: done is better than perfect. Action creates information. Thinking creates anxiety. You can't edit a blank page, and you can't improve a business you haven't started. Stop rehearsing and start performing. What's the one thing you've been overthinking for months or even years? Starting a business? Asking someone out? Changing careers? Drop it in the comments. Sometimes just saying it out loud is the first step toward action.
Habit 5. Reframe your catastrophic thoughts. Lisa is a 24-year-old recent college grad in Miami. She just got her first real job at a PR firm. 3 weeks in, her supervisor asks to speak with her privately. Immediately, Lisa's brain goes into overdrive. I'm getting fired. I knew this job was too good to be true. Everyone probably hates my work. I'm going to have to move back in with my parents. My degree was worthless. My life is over. She spends the next 4 hours barely able to function, anxiety eating her alive. When the meeting finally happens, her supervisor says, "Hey, great job on that client pitch yesterday. I wanted to give you some pointers for next time and see if you'd be interested in taking lead on the next project." It was positive feedback. All that suffering for nothing. This is called catastrophizing, and it's the overthinker's signature move. We take a neutral or even slightly negative situation and spin it into the worst possible outcome. Nick Trenton explains that our brains are wired with a negativity bias. We notice threats more readily than opportunities because, evolutionarily, that kept us alive. But in the modern world, this bias runs wild. A delayed text means your friend hates you. A headache means brain cancer. A tough day at work means imminent unemployment. The solution? Cognitive reframing. This is a technique from cognitive behavioral therapy where you challenge catastrophic thoughts with evidence and alternative interpretations. You're not being fake positive, you're being realistic. Use the 3 alternative explanations technique. When you catch yourself catastrophizing, force yourself to come up with 3 alternative explanations for the situation. Let's take Lisa's example. Catastrophic thought: my boss wants to fire me. Alternative 1, my boss wants to give me feedback on the pitch. Alternative 2, my boss wants to discuss my schedule or workload. Alternative 3, my boss wants to tell me about an upcoming opportunity. Notice what happened. Once Lisa wrote down alternatives, the catastrophic option became just one possibility out of many, not the only truth. Here's the second tool, the evidence test. Ask yourself, what actual evidence do I have for this catastrophic thought? Not feelings, not assumptions, evidence. Lisa had 0 evidence she was getting fired. Her supervisor had never criticized her work. She'd received positive feedback from clients. She was letting fear write fiction. When you demand evidence, 90% of catastrophic thoughts collapse under scrutiny. The takeaway: your first thought isn't always the truth. It's just the loudest thought. Practice treating your catastrophic thoughts like hypotheses to be tested, not facts to be accepted. Question them, challenge them. Most of them will crumble. What's the most ridiculous catastrophic thought you've ever had that turned out to be totally wrong? Come on, don't be shy. We've all been there. Share your story below. Let's laugh at our anxious brains together. Habit 6. Build mental boundaries with time blocking. Carlos is a 35-year-old restaurant owner in Phoenix, Arizona. He loves his business, but it's consuming him. He wakes up thinking about inventory. He goes to bed worrying about staffing. He can't have dinner with his wife without checking his phone 17 times. His 8-year-old daughter once asked him, "Dad, why do you always look worried?" That question broke him. He realized he'd become so mentally available to every problem, every what-if, every potential crisis, that he'd stopped being present for his actual life. Nick Trenton introduces a powerful concept: mental boundaries. Just like you need boundaries in relationships, you need boundaries in your own mind. You need designated times for problem solving and designated times for living. Overthinkers have what Trenton calls open-door mental policies. Our brains are available 24/7 for any worry that wants to walk in. We never close for business. This leads to chronic mental exhaustion and decision fatigue. The solution? Time blocking for your thoughts. You create specific windows for processing worries and specific windows that are off limits. This isn't suppression, it's scheduling. The application. Here's the system Carlos implemented. He created a daily worry window, 30 minutes every afternoon from 3 to 3:30. During that window, he'd sit down with a notebook and let himself think through every business concern, every worst-case scenario, every problem that needed solving. He'd write it all down, brainstorm solutions, make action plans. But here's the rule. Outside that window, when a worry popped up, he'd write it down on a running list and tell himself, "I'll think about this during my worry window." Then he'd return to whatever he was doing. At first, this felt impossible. His brain rebelled. "But this is urgent," his thoughts would scream. But he stuck with it. And something incredible happened. He realized 90% of his worries either resolved themselves or weren't actually urgent. They just felt urgent because he was giving them attention 24/7. The second boundary? Device-free zones. Carlos made a rule. No phone at the dinner table, no phone after 8 p.m., and absolutely no business thoughts during his daughter's bedtime routine. These times were sacred, non-negotiable. Did emergencies happen? Sure, but far fewer than he imagined. And the ones that did happen, he handled with more clarity because his brain wasn't pre-exhausted from constant low-grade worry. The takeaway: your attention is finite. Your mental energy is precious. If you don't set boundaries, overthinking will colonize every moment of your life. Schedule your worry. Protect your peace. Treat your mind like the valuable resource it is. If you could create one mental boundary right now, one time or place where overthinking is not allowed, what would it be? The bedroom? Mornings? Weekends? Tell me in the comments. And if you're brave enough, commit to trying it for 1 week.
FAQ section. Let's tackle some of the most common questions people have about stopping overthinking. Question 1. How do I stay consistent with these techniques when my overthinking feels so automatic? Great question. Here's the truth. Overthinking is a habit, and habits don't disappear overnight. They get replaced. The key is to start small and stack your new habits onto existing routines. For example, pair the 90-second rule with your morning coffee. Every time you sit down with your first cup, take 90 seconds to scan your body for tension and just breathe. Link your worry window to your lunch break. Attach the 5-minute decision protocol to your commute. Every time you get in your car, make one decision quickly. The consistency doesn't come from willpower, it comes from creating environmental triggers. Also, track your wins. Keep a note on your phone where you log every time you successfully interrupted overthinking. Seeing progress, even small progress, rewires your brain to believe change is possible. Remember, you didn't become an overthinker in a day. You won't stop being one in a day either. But every time you interrupt the pattern, you're weakening that neural pathway and strengthening a new one. Question 2. What if my overthinking is actually justified? What if I'm thinking about real problems that need real solutions? This is where we need to distinguish between problem solving and rumination. Problem solving is productive, it's time-limited, action-oriented, and leads to a plan. Rumination is repetitive, emotion-focused, and goes nowhere. Here's the test. Ask yourself, am I making progress or am I just replaying the same thoughts? If you've been thinking about the same problem for 3 days and you're not closer to a solution, that's not problem solving, that's rumination disguised as productivity. Real problems deserve real thinking time, so use the worry window technique. Give yourself dedicated time to actually work on the problem. Write down solutions, research options, talk to people who can help. But outside that window, trust that you've done what you can for now. And here's the kicker. Most of what we overthink isn't actually solvable through thinking. What if they think I'm weird isn't a problem you can solve? It's a fear you need to accept and move past. Question 3. Can overthinking ever be a good thing? Doesn't it mean I'm thoughtful and conscientious? Yes and no. There's a difference between being thoughtful and being trapped in your thoughts.
Being conscientious means you consider consequences, weigh options, and make informed decisions. That's valuable. Overthinking means you consider the same consequences 50 times, weigh the same options until you're paralyzed, and second-guess every decision you make. That's destructive. The difference is in the outcome. Thoughtfulness leads to clarity and action. Overthinking leads to anxiety and stagnation. Here's how you know which one you're doing. Thoughtfulness has a stopping point. You think, you decide, you act, you move on. Overthinking is circular. You never reach a conclusion that satisfies you. So don't mistake mental loops for mental depth. You can be both thoughtful and decisive. In fact, the most successful people are exactly that. They think enough to make smart choices, but not so much that they miss opportunities. Question 4. How do I stop overthinking about past mistakes or embarrassing moments? This is called rumination about the past, and it's one of the most painful forms of overthinking. First, understand this. Your brain is trying to protect you. By replaying past mistakes, it thinks it's preventing future ones. But here's the flaw. You can't change the past no matter how much you think about it, so that mental energy is completely wasted. Try this technique called the shelf. Imagine taking that embarrassing memory or mistake and putting it on a mental shelf. Not throwing it away, just putting it somewhere you can access if you need to learn from it, but not somewhere you stare at constantly. When the memory pops up uninvited, acknowledge it. That's on the shelf. I've learned what I can from it. Then use a pattern interrupt. Stand up, splash water on your face, do 5 push-ups. Physical movement snaps you back to now. And remember, that cringeworthy thing you said at the party 5 years ago? Nobody else remembers it. They were too busy worrying about their own cringeworthy moments. Conclusion. So here we are. We've covered 6 powerful habits from Nick Trenton's Stop Overthinking. Let's bring it home. You learned that awareness without action is just more thinking. That emotions are 90-second chemical processes unless you extend them with stories. That done is always better than perfect, and sometimes the smartest thing you can do is distract yourself. You discovered how to challenge catastrophic thoughts with evidence and build mental boundaries that protect your peace. But here's what I really want you to understand. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind your thoughts. You are the space in which thoughts appear and disappear, and that means you have a choice. Every single time you interrupt an overthinking spiral, you're proving to your brain that you're in control. Every time you take imperfect action instead of waiting for perfect conditions, you're building confidence. Every time you set a boundary and stick to it, you're reclaiming your life. This isn't about becoming a person who never worries or never doubts. It's about becoming a person who doesn't let worry and doubt run the show. It's about moving from, I can't think about this, to, I'm thinking about this right now, and that's okay, and I'm going to choose what to do next. Look, I get it. If you're watching this video, you've probably been battling overthinking for years, maybe decades, and it might feel like it's just who you are, but it's not. It's just what you've practiced, and anything you've practiced, you can unpractice. Start with one technique, just one. Maybe it's the 90-second rule. Maybe it's the 5-minute decision protocol. Maybe it's creating your worry window. Pick the one that resonated most with you and commit to it for 7 days. Not perfect execution, just 7 days of trying. And I promise you, if you actually do this, if you take action instead of just consuming information, you will feel different. Your mind will feel lighter. Your decisions will come easier. Your sleep will improve. Your relationships will deepen, because you'll finally have the mental space to be present. The life you want is on the other side of overthinking. The career you want, the relationships you want, the peace you want, it's all there. You just need to get out of your own way. So here's my challenge to you. Close this video and do one thing, right now, before your brain talks you out of it. Send that text, make that decision, take that first step, just one thing. Prove to yourself that you can act before you're ready. And if this video helped you, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, because we're building something special here at Ladder Up English, a community of people who are done playing small, done waiting for permission, done letting fear make their decisions. Drop a comment below telling me which habit you're committing to. I read every single one, and I'm rooting for you. Not in a vague, generic way. I'm genuinely rooting for you. Because I know what it's like to be trapped in your own head, and I know what it's like to finally break free. Your brain is the most powerful tool you have. It's time to start using it instead of letting it use you. Now go, take action, stop overthinking, start living. I'll see you in the next video.